But first this morning to Scientology. Now, I'd like to know today why both our major political parties have blocked a call for a parliamentary inquiry into the Church of Scientology. The independent Senator Nick Xenophon proposed such an inquiry as part of an examination of the value of giving religious institutions tax exemptions. The government and the opposition knocked him back yesterday. Now, I'd have thought, given what's happening overseas in countries like France and the United States, I'd have thought in light of this week's Four Corners program and other programs like it, and the claims that have been made in those programs, an inquiry might have produced something, would have been at least worthwhile. Well, Nick Xenophon is on the line. Senator Xenophon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephen. I'm as gobsmacked as you are, and I think most of the community are, that the major parties, effectively Kevin Rudd and Tony Abbott, walked away from the victims of Scientology that have come forward to me, the international experiences with this organisation, and I'll be trying again next week, hoping that both Kevin Rudd and Tony Abbott have reconsidered.
Why did they block you? Why did the major parties block you?
Well, the reasons given are that, firstly, the history of this briefly is that I put up an inquiry last year specifically looking at allegations made against the Church of Scientology for a Senate committee to look at this. I was told privately by both major parties, we don't like you singling out one particular organisation, so I changed the motion to say...
So that was why you broadened it, the proposed terms of reference. It wasn't...
In the understanding that it would actually mean that I would get the numbers for an inquiry so that we could look at the United Kingdom's public benefit test. You can't get tax-exempt status in the UK unless you can show that there is a public benefit for the organisation in terms of what it does, and that includes any detriment or harm it causes. And I thought that would have been a fair way forward.
See, I thought they might have blocked you because you broadened the terms of reference. You're telling me this morning that you broadened the terms of reference because they suggested you do it.
Well, a number of senators suggested to me privately, and I'm not going to say who it was. I think they suggested it in good faith, thinking that would get the numbers up. Well, guess what? Next week I'll be narrowing the terms of reference to what I went back originally in relation to the Church of Scientology, and I think that it's incumbent on the major parties to tell the people of Australia why they will stand in the way of a Senate inquiry into a matter, I think, and many others think, is a matter of significant public importance.
Because, tell me if I'm wrong, this is not, what you're trying to do is not about belief, is it? I mean, it's about behaviour.
No, absolutely not. And look, there were some silly things said in the Senate yesterday about this is an attack on freedom of religion. I don't have a problem with... The great thing about this country is that you can believe in anything you want, and I don't have a problem with that. This is not about belief, it is about behaviour, as you said. It's about how people behave. A number of allegations have been made. I have senators saying this is not the appropriate forum for it. Well, we have a situation where we've had Senate committees as to whether Tasmania should have an AFL, footy team, or about long-range weather forecasting. I don't have a problem with those inquiries, but it seems my colleagues have a problem in looking at these very serious allegations.
The Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi was very critical of the Greens. I guess he was including you in the brush he was painting as well. And he was talking about a witch hunt on organised faith.
Yes, and he made reference to the Nazis. And look, Cory's a good bloke, and I reckon Cory just completely overstepped on that one. Cory was just completely out of line, and I thought it was pretty offensive stuff to compare... to have a crack at the Greens and then basically make comparisons with the Nazis. That is just ridiculous, and that's why I want some sanity in this debate. And ultimately, we need to look at the leaders. Kevin Rudd said he's concerned about the allegations about the Church of Scientology. Tony Abbott has expressed some views about this organisation. This is not a witch hunt. This is about allegations being made that are in the public interest to be looked at. And I would think that a lot of your listeners would agree on that as well.
Sounds to me as if you got blindsided by unnamed senatorial colleagues who said, do it our way and we're with you, and you did it their way and they dumped you.
Well, that's politics, but the fact is I'll be bringing on another motion next week and we'll do it all over again. And if it's going to be a bit like Groundhog Day, where it comes on the Senate, into the Senate week in, week out, until they finally get it, that's fine.
You've accused the Prime Minister of hiding behind process. What's that mean?
Well, the government's excuse is that we're waiting for the Henry Tax Review to look at these things, and that there are other reviews in place to look at the tax-free status of organisations like the Church of Scientology. The fact is, having an inquiry by bureaucrats, a sterile academic inquiry, is not the same as real people with real stories coming before a Senate committee to tell their stories so that we can determine whether we need to have other tests in place before organisations like this get tax-exempt status. And in the United Kingdom, the public benefit requirement, the public benefit test, has stood the test of time over many years. It's a very reasonable test. And I would have thought that if we, as members of Parliament, aren't available to hear people's stories of genuine grievances, then what are we there for?
Just on that, Liberal Senator Eric Abetz says he sympathises with anyone who suffered under the Church of Scientology, but he says the Senate's not the right place to hear the stories like this.
Yeah, well, the Senate's the right place to hear whether Tasmania has another AFL team, or has an AFL team in the first place, and about long-range weather forecasting. If you look at what the Senate has looked at in terms of allegations of a serious nature on a whole range of issues, then that shows that what Senator Abetz, who I regard as a colleague and a friend, I think he's wrong on that. I think that basically they have missed the community mood on this, and they've ignored the seriousness of these allegations and the fact that people have a right to be heard in a Senate context.
Okay, so for you it's back to square one.
Well, back to square one, but I'll just keep plugging away at this because I can't turn my back on the victims. It may be that others have, but my plea to both Kevin Rudd and Tony Abbott, this is a question of leadership. I would like to think they can reconsider their view. I'll talk to my colleagues behind the scenes to see whether they're amenable to something else. I mean, the fact is, a lot of senators were talking in the corridors yesterday saying that this inquiry had merit, but they weren't quite there yet. So it's not over yet. And when you consider that, as you said, in France there have been court cases, in Germany there's been action, in the United States, Greece and Russia have taken action against this organisation. It's not over yet.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
South Australian Independent Senator Nick Xenophon.